I was one of the many people who said the Warriors need to trade for a big man at the deadline. Golden State will face an elite center at some point in the playoffs, and their one weakness is paint defense. So many voices demanded they trade James Wiseman, except for one voice. Warriors GM Bob Myers said, if we thought Draymond was not going to be back, or Wiseman, and we thought some player would really help us, we would do that. But they didn't. So the Dubs front office really thinks that James Wiseman's return was better than getting a guy like Miles Turner. That says a lot about what they've seen from James Wiseman behind the scenes. So I believe them. I mean, who am I to question the people who have been watching Wiseman and this front office? Well, now a gigantic rumor just dropped about when Wiseman is making his season debut, and it could make the Warriors unbeatable. Want this to sound like paint defense is their only issue, because it's not. They don't even have a top 10 offense for the season. Big reason for that, obviously, is Steph Curry's slump that he went through. Thankfully, he's coming out of it, but the big man issue is real. I mean, before the break, Hassan Whiteside grabbed 17 boards and made it very clear the Dubs need size. Nikola Jokic did the same thing with 35 points. But James Wiseman is coming back really soon. Now, I want to play a clip for you guys about when exactly he is coming back at the end of this video, but this recent clip of him going one-on-one with Kevon Looney is nothing. Dude's been cleared for 5-on-5. That means he'll be in a G League game soon, which is the last step before the NBA. Wiseman tore his meniscus last April, and he was supposed to be ready to start this season. Then he had a few setbacks, and the Dubs really weren't telling us much. Turns out he had a cleanup surgery in December that pushed him back further, but some reporter from The Athletic had to go out and find that information on his own and force the Warriors to admit it. I think they're trying to protect Wiseman from negative talk getting in his head. They don't want Wiseman to hear, oh, he's injury prone or he's a bust. Because he's not. A torn meniscus is a really common basketball injury. This isn't Zion dealing with his weight. The reason I say the Dubs could be unbeatable with Wiseman is because of how they've looked without him. They have demolished expectations. I picked them to finish 5th like an idiot, but I don't feel too bad because ESPN did the same thing. Turns out Jonathan Kaminga has been one of the most exciting rookies we've seen in a while. After slowly ramping him up, he has dropped double-digit points 16 times in 28 games. He might be the strongest 19-year-old driver I've seen since LeBron James. That is an element that the Dubs just have not had. And he's a smart passer. Klay Thompson actually said he has an incredibly high ceiling, and one day down the line, it will be his team, or he'll be a huge part of this team. I see him one day being one of the better players in the league. Jordan Poole has faded into the background of the national media. He's not even on the 6th man of the year odds list, but look at his numbers. He's scoring a little less than Jordan Clarkson did last year, but he's more efficient. Now, I'm not saying Jordan Poole should win 6th man of the year, but to not even have him on the odds list is ridiculous. Then there's Klay Thompson. Since coming back, the man is starting to look like his old self. Did you see his game against the Kings going 7 for 9 from 3? I think the guy who's most happy about that is Stephen Curry. When Klay was injured, teams could just double or triple team Steph, force the ball out of his hands. Now, when teams do that, they get punished. Houston doubles Steph in transition, but Klay makes them pay. And he's not just a spot-up shooter. Here he takes Stanley Johnson and LeBron James off the dribble. Steph is coming out of that slump 38% from downtown in February. Now, you all know I was not a big fan of Andrew Wiggins being an all-star starter, but I have to admit he is in the perfect role on the Warriors. And did you hear what he said about Wiseman? He called him a tank and says he expects Wiseman to dominate when he returns. That is a gigantic statement. The one thing this team has been missing is a dominant center. It's why they drafted Wiseman over LaMelo Ball. LaMelo's already become an all-star by year 2, but who cares if Wiseman wins a championship? Getting Draymond Green back is going to allow the Dubs to play small, but if Wiseman can at least slow down other big men, I don't care about the Suns or the Bucks. No one could compete against the Warriors in a 7-game series. Now, in the past, players who are that young don't actually contribute that much in the playoffs, but in recent years, we've seen like Tyler Hero play a huge role for the Heat who made the finals, or Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson with the Suns last year. Terrence Mann single-handedly replaced Kawhi Leonard's production and knocked out the 1-seed Jazz last season. But the key to Wiseman having that kind of impact is the work he's been doing behind the scenes that made Bob Myers say, no, trading for like a Miles Turner is not worth it. And if he's improved like Bob Myers thinks or his teammates say, the Dubs will be unstoppable. Now let's get to this huge rumor about when exactly Wiseman will return. This leaked actually on a Warriors podcast, but apparently the source is really confident.
Yesterday, Dieter revealed, and at first I said, is that speculative? And he replied, no. He says he has a source that tells him that James Wiseman will be playing on March 1st. That's not that long away before we finally see the former number 2 pick in just a year ago.
So March 1st, that lines up exactly with what the Warriors have been saying. He's already getting in 5-on-5 work, and if he gets in like 1 or 2 G League games after the All-Star break, then that report is legit. And that first game back would be against the Minnesota Timberwolves, guarding Karl Anthony Towns. Then Wiseman would get 21 games in before the playoffs, assuming he plays back-to-backs. So the centers he would play in those 21 games would make anybody scared. Towns, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bam Adebayo, DeAndre Ayton, and Rudy Gobert. Basically every elite big man except for Joel Embiid. So this is like a gigantic test to see if the Warriors were right in betting on Wiseman. Like, we're gonna find out real quick. But what would help a lot is getting Draymond Green back. And in an All-Star interview, he said he was 3 to 4 weeks away, which would mean March 20th at the latest. If Wiseman is at his best, he will be blocking shots and grabbing boards, which Kevon Looney just does not do. He'll be hitting threes and rolling to the rim. Now, I'm sorry for another quote, but this one from Andre Iguodala is insane. Iggy has been watching Wiseman at practice, and he recently said he's only played 3 or 4 college games, just a few things he's got to clean up. Small things, easy fixes. I saw him on the court today, and he did something, and he has that wow factor. For Iggy to say that about a young guy is huge. Do you remember how he treated the young Memphis Grizzlies? And they're good. I think the Dubs are a contender, with or without Wiseman, even if he can't be an impact player. But with him, they are favorites to hang a 4th banner in 8 years. We also got another huge piece of news during the All-Star break. Basically, LeBron James told us exactly when he's gonna retire. People have been asking that for years. I'm surprised this hadn't got more attention. And he didn't outright say, like, I am going to retire on this date, but literally there's nothing else you can take from this quote. He absolutely told us when his last year in the NBA will be, and I made a whole video about it right here.